to junk.
Hi, welcome to Trash Compactor, and in this episode I'll be showing you how to make some custom Rebel Commandos. So I've always had a couple of Rebel Commandos in my collection, but I wanted to expand on them and increase my Endor army. So I got a couple of these Commandos from eBay, and the idea is I'm going to use these as my base figures, do some head swaps and a little bit of painting, and customize these. So I've got a Ninum and a squid head figure that I'm going to be swapping the heads and the hands around on the squid head. I've already got a Ninum figure from a previous project, so I'm going to use the head from that and save the other Ninum to do later for a B-Wing pilot customization that I want to work on. So the squid head one, he's was a filthy figure, a bit beaten up. I've given him a good scrub and a big clean. He's still not perfect, but I think that sort of adds to the authenticity for this build. The figures I'm using are all the pin into the head, so you can use the pop and boil method to get the heads off. Just put them in water for a little bit of time, pop them off. It saves snapping the pegs. Some of the figures you can give them a good twist and pull, but there is a risk of snapping the pegs, so always stick them in a little bit of hot water and then you'll be able to get the heads off and on easier. First of all, I'm doing the Ninum Endor pilot. I know there wasn't officially any actual Ninum or squid head in the Rebel Commando army. They just look like good figures in the collection and are a good alternative. So once you've clicked the head back on, Ninum is basically pretty much done. I can do some touch-ups later on his outfit just to add a little bit of shading. There's no need to change the hands because they're pretty much the same. I could paint his gloves if I wanted to, which I'll probably do later. The squid head one though, this is where you will need to cut the hands off the Rebel Commando and swap them with the squid head. This is quite an easy one because the good thing is I can use this squid head body for a later customization where I possibly make the Wolfman that's in the cantina, and for that I would then get a Power of the Force Wolfman, swap the hands and the head over and put it onto the squid head body. It's a perfect build. That'll be another video that'll be coming up in the future, as that's something I do want to add to my collection. So using a good wide Stanley knife, give them a good cut through, easy to come off. I say this every time, I've got so many cuts on my fingers, it's insane. So take the hands off. Rebel Commando, quite easy because you can follow the glove line. As I was doing this I did realise that I just did it slightly off camera, which is a bit frustrating. See, this is where I realised that I was missing the mark. Cut these off, did fly across the room, got it back, but I'm going to save these hands because they'll be good for another future project that I might want to stick some gloves on to another figure. Any parts you ever do cut off or you alter, always save them. I've got lots of little boxes on my desk which are just full of heads, hands, parts of guns, backpacks, things off modern figures, things off Power of the Force accessories that I don't need, and I often use those and kit bash them in to create new items. So now just glue the squid head hands onto the Rebel Commando's arms. Good thing about super glue, it dries super quick. I did try this with plastic melt, and it just, for some reason, the plastic in Star Wars figures just doesn't want to melt or bond together. I've also tried it once with liquid poly. It didn't take. I don't know what it is about Return of the Jedi plastic, but for some reason they don't like it. They just don't like being glued together with any liquid polymer of any sort. So traditional good old super glue. Pop the hands on with super glue. Don't use too much. And then once you've got those on, just leave them to dry. And they'll take about 5 minutes to probably cure off. Depends on your super glue. Everybody's super glue is different. You like the Gorilla Glue because you just get so much of it. It does take a little bit longer to dry than, say, your Loctite super glue, which can be 30 seconds to a minute. But what I like about Gorilla Glue is that once you've used it, if I'm not quite happy, I've still got that time to snap it off and pop it back on. Where if I use like a Loctite super glue, which literally dries in seconds, I don't get that opportunity, and then you have to recut it and it can get quite messy. So his hands are dried off. They look quite effective. I used the previous the actual squid head figure as a reference because I wanted to make sure I got the hands in the right place for holding any weapons. And all I need to do now is literally just stick his head on. Again, you could pop the head in a bit of hot water to soften it up to make it easy, but for some reason Rebel Commando heads come off quite easily. So it's the peg is easy to go into other heads. You can tell it's stiff, but it goes on. And I have done this before on previous figures where I've done it and actually ended up snapping the pin or snapping what I've just glued on. So be very, very careful. So I've got my Nenum Rebel Commando and my Squidhead Rebel Commando, alternate figures. I think they look really good. They'll be good when they join my army, and if you compare them to the originals, you can see they go just new bodies, new heads, new hands on new bodies. Great way of making new figures. It's easy, you don't have to paint them. I prefer to use figures that, see that Nenum has got a bit of a dodgy leg. He stands okay, but he always looks a bit lopsided. So he'll get used later on for my my B-Wing pilot customization, which might be a bit brutal. And that's my squid head, which will be used for another build. I did my prune head project a little while ago. I had a few prune heads. So what I'm going to do is utilise the bodies of these prune faces, with the heads that I've taken off of the Rebel Commandos. So the good thing about this is this just gives you another variation of a Rebel Commando. So he's got the green trousers, he's got the boots. The hands are prune face hands, but you can paint them, make them look like gloves. And what he's wearing is actually a Black Series Yoda that I cut up to make a Baby Yoda. And that was the original cape, which was all frayed and nasty. And I thought, I'll use that at some point in the future. So I thought that would be great for a Rebel Commando. So there's my original Rebel Commando. That's the one I owned when I was a child. And there's the other one. And funnily enough, one is a painted face and one is a moulded face. So I've got both variants. So along with my prune face build, where I did, I can't remember all their names. I can never say his name. They're all generals. They're all in Return of the Jedi. So when you put them together in a collective, they do make quite a good Endor army. Because they didn't come with weapons, I have a selection of various weapons that I've collected from modern figures, Power of the Force figures, and also some Lego weapons, which is a new discovery of mine, where some Lego weapons actually are the perfect scale for Star Wars figures. And I'll be showing you in part 2 of this video, where I do a couple more Rebel Commandos, the variations on some of the Lego accessories you can use. I've also run out of stands, so this is why I'm popping the figures there, and they'll probably all fall over in a moment. So there we have my collection of Rebel Commandos. So I've got some of the prune face bodies, which I can utilise and make into Rebel Commandos with some of the spare heads. So another one I've got, I have a poncho from a modern Rey figure, which I'm not really a fan of. I got it in a bundle that I purchased on eBay. By putting the poncho on that figure, cutting the front just a little bit, popping that on the body, it makes a really, really good Rebel Commando outfit. And again, giving him a weapon just makes my Endor army a little bit bigger. So there we have my Endor army, collection of my prune faces, my squid head, my Nenum, my prune face bodies with Rebel Commando heads, and the original. So I've got the Rebel Commando with the Rey poncho. It's got a cable tie around his middle as a belt. Painted his hands so they look like gloves. For the Nenum character, pretty much he's got a blaster, rocket launcher on his back. Also painted his boots and his gloves. Then you've got the prune face body. with the Rebel Commando's head. He's wearing some goggles around his neck, also squid head, but no painting, just the hands and the head. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe. See you in part 2.
What a piece of junk!